Hey friends. So, something that has been kind of showing up for me in the last couple of weeks, I mean, it's been happening longer, but I've sort of noticed it happening consistently for a few weeks now, maybe even a month or so, is that I will do a post like this one, and then pretty quickly have an experience, have a conversation, have a thought, have something happen that kind of forces me to reevaluate what I've said in the post. And as you know, if you're watching this post or other of my posts, they're on the internet. So there I am saying stuff every day that I might not agree with anymore after a relatively short amount of time. And, you know, so part of me, when I have that experience, or when I see that, when I notice that, part of me wants to go, should I stop doing this? Am I like that guy who has no filter and just kind of says what's on his mind, and like really the thing to learn to do is to like not open your mouth so much? Is that the lesson I'm supposed to extract? But what I have, fortunately, I don't think that's the only way to perceive what's happening, because obviously, you know, this post for me is an expression of my own evolution. It's a daily snapshot of where my thinking is, creating a track record, a paper trail, a video trail of where I'm at day to day. And little by little, things move. Little by little, I move. And I'm actually very curious, you know, assuming I live long enough to look back on this with some degree of real distance, I wonder what I'll see. You know, every once in a while I run that experiment, like in my mind, like what will this look like? What will these expressions that I'm crafting every day, what will they look like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now? And what I've noticed, and you know, I've said this on many times, you know, the function of this post for me, or the entry point, is that I take a daily kind of survey of maybe not my whole life, but something significant in my life, some aspect that seems to be showing up as noteworthy, and I speak about it from the vantage point of assuming that it's a gift, knowing that life is giving me what I need in every moment. And even if I don't like emotionally or psychologically feel that way in every moment, I know that in every moment, and I can step into that and not just like internally feel that way about life and about the events of my life, but actually express that, actually craft something external that expresses that and that deepens that experience for me. Because ultimately that's what I think, that's the starting kind of like orienting signpost in the direction of evolution. Can we just take the moment now and assume that it's providing everything we need, as opposed to feeling like it's not providing everything we need and there's something drastically wrong, there's something horribly missing. So that's my own kind of alpha and omega point for this process. And I guess what has been kind of humbling and surprising, and also kind of mildly curiosity provoking, is that things change quickly sometimes. You know, sometimes I'll say something on the post, or I'll come out with something, will come through me where I'm kind of stunned by the profoundness of it, and I'm like, wow, that informs me. That is a revelation to me. This thing that just came out of my mouth simply because I opened it and was prepared to let something come through. Other times, you know, I wake up the next day and I'm like, that's what I talked about yesterday? Really? That was the conclusion I drew from my experience that day? You know, and I think that speaks to the fact that, you know, my intention is always to be in the highest kind of altitude that I can be, to be in the most expansive perspective that I can assume at on any given day, in any given moment. But that varies day to day. Where I actually am and how expansive I really am, and how much of kind of deeper reality I'm actually seeing, kind of comes and goes. There's some play there, you know. And I think as I think about that, you know, it's like I look at some of the great teachers in the world, spiritual masters, even like just anybody who's deepened themselves as a master of an art, right? There's something in that creative process that's very akin to spiritual practice. And the teachers, the great teachers and the great kind of mystics that I've rubbed up against in some way or other, whether it's by reading their books or watching their videos or whatever, they seem to be consistently anchored in that place of expansive perception, right? And I think that's actually kind of maybe that's kind of the yardstick of where we're at in terms of our own evolution. How consistently are we in that space of revelation? Because anybody can have a revelation. Anybody can have a moment of like, it's all clear, the universe, it all makes sense, right? Many of us, especially if we've done any degree of practice, we've had some moments here and there where like suddenly it's like all the pieces kind of feel like they are perfectly in place, and we kind of see the necessity of where we've come from and the kind of what's out ahead of us, and how even the adversity we experience is part of creating the next chapter of what we really truly deeply desire. But that might just be a moment. That feeling can go again quickly, and then we can kind of come back to like, whoa, well, look at this past, what have I done? Look at this future, what am I going to do? And we can kind of tumble back into a kind of more contracted perspective. And I think, you know, in some ways this is just another affirmation of what this process is doing for me, but actually speaking out loud about my life from the point of view of that place of kind of genuinely understanding and believing, knowing that the moment contains everything I need, that my past contains everything I need, and that my future contains everything I need. Expressing that actually keeps me, it brings me back to center every day, brings me back to a place where more and more that perspective also infuses the rest of my life. So that doesn't change the fact that sometimes I look back at yesterday's post and I go, for real? What? You know, or a post from a month or two ago, I'll just remember like, I said that? Okay. But I think inherent in all of it is a willingness to express whatever's here, right? I can't, if my yardstick were, I must only ever express things that will be eternally true and feel eternally true. Well, get ready for some really long, silent 12-minute posts, because there's very little. There's a great quote this morning. I think my insight timer, I'm just thinking of this. I think it's by Aristotle. I almost want to look it up, but it's in my phone. Where he said, the only way to remain completely free of criticism is to say nothing, do nothing, and be nothing. That's a pretty good encapsulation of what I would have to do if I were gonna never want to make a mistake, never want to kind of put my foot in it. So every once in a while, I just need to remind myself, I have permission to put my foot in it, okay? I have permission to say something wrong. I have permission to say something that outs me in my limitation, that makes evident my limitation, even though that's embarrassing, or it might feel embarrassing. It might feel like something I look back on, I'm like, ooh, I put that on the internet. Yeesh, what was I thinking? Couldn't I just skip that day? Right? but that's, that's part of the game. That's part of the game, is putting our foot in it and actually expressing our limitation, where it can become something that we can regard outside of ourselves and look at it and go, oh, okay, that's real. Is it true? Is it the ultimate me? Is it all I believe? Is it what I really think? Is it what I really thought then? Or was I kind of just down a rabbit hole of thought that kind of dragged me along with its momentum, but it wasn't really, right down the center. So yeah, that's what's here today for me, is giving myself permission to put my foot in it, and even sort of celebrating that, because since it's something that I'm going to be likely to sort of shrink from, celebrating it is kind of like saying, it's not saying, yeah, I want to do more of that. I want to be off track more. But it's saying, this work is an inherently valuable thing. And I'm giving myself that gift every day. And I really am being drawn into a perspective that is expansive and that is kind of life affirming. And thank God I'm doing it, because it's changing my life. So that's where I am today, folks. Thank you for being part of it and for witnessing it all. I appreciate you very much. Have a wonderful day. I will see you tomorrow.